Hello and welcome to Profiles in Risk. This is your host, Tony Cañas, switching to my radio voice. Today, I have with me Tyler Amundsen, CEO at LightDoc. Tyler, thank you for joining me today. How's it going?
Going great. Glad to be here, Tony. Appreciate you setting this up.
My pleasure, my pleasure. And it looks like you are in Austin. Uh,
That's correct.
so, mid-January in Austin. I'm guessing nice weather, a little bit chilly, but nice.
Mid 50s.
That's
It's
very nice.
yeah, I'll take this any day over where I grew up. Kansas City winters are brutal.
We had snow in Atlanta, Georgia last weekend.
Is
So
that right?
yes, yes. I 50s would be really, really nice. Uh and you think KC is cold. I went to school in Iowa. That's
Oh
cold.
yeah.
Uh
Yeah.
but yeah, KC is definitely Midwest. So I definitely see how you like Austin better. So we always give the guest a chance to give the elevator pitch. What is LightDoc?
Yeah. LightDoc is a technology platform specifically built for commercial insurance brokers, and it helps them really do three things. One is improve retention through better service, the other, save time and just focus on higher value account management tasks. And then finally, the big thing is it allows agencies and brokers to unlock the data that they're currently sitting on in the form of policies, quotes, and insurance requirements, and do that in a way that is basically powered by this concept called agentic workflows. So, what we do is deploy these AI employees at an agency. And with the combination of this technology in the hands of the account managers, it allows them to do some things like process complex contract reviews, COI requests, and policy checks all in under about 3 minutes. So that happens with minimal changes to their existing workflows. And while all of that's happening in the background, LightDoc is actually extracting and enriching all of this data. So we make that data available through a secure API layer that the agency owns and can build custom applications on top of that. And so if you think about traditionally, the way these tasks were done, the agencies or brokers are either paying people overseas to do them, or they're kind of relying on entry level employees. So with LightDoc, these same tasks can be handled a lot more efficiently. The agency owns the process end to end. And the big thing is they're just getting a higher ROI out of these tasks because now they can seamlessly extract and enrich that data without the added effort of having to go through manually and enter data into the AMS. So high level, that's kind of where we are and where we're headed for the next years.
A lot of the stuff that was getting outsourced, and that just took a ton of my service people's time.
You cut off at the first part there. You were
Yeah,
on
no,
mute.
yeah, I unmuted myself afterwards. So I repeated what I said basically after I unmuted.
Okay.
Um, all right, all right. So um, where did the idea come from? How did you realize this was a need within the commercial insurance space?
The idea came from just conversations with insurance owners, insurance executives. So my family has an agency in Kansas City, and so I was pretty aware growing up of the legacy systems they had to deal with, how much paperwork is involved in just servicing an account. And so one thing led to another. Originally, we were kind of just developing custom applications and then started searching for a more broadly felt pain point that had a solution that could kind of be one size fits many. And so we started working with some other agencies in the Midwest, met with a really large broker. Everybody had this sort of similar pain point. And the question that we would ask everyone when we would first meet with them to do some discovery was basically, what are these very high frequency, low value tasks that your account managers are currently doing that they don't really need to be doing, or you're either outsourcing or just you want a better way to do it in the first place. And so it was really starting with that framework and then working backwards to a solution from there.
Okay. And it looks like you've been at this for a couple of years.
That's right. Yep.
Okay, so a couple of years in, um, how many agencies are on the platform now?
Yeah, so we really launched the new kind of version of this. Originally, we were called Lightbulb, and that was for about a year and a half is where we had that solution in place. And then it's really been about 6 months since we kind of changed the name and took this new direction with a new focus. So we've got about 4 agencies that we're working with right now, and then a long pipeline of other agencies who are kind of looking at this in Q1. It is kind of a you're dealing with the agency trying to wrap their head around the data and how they own the data and just what the process looks like. So there's like this interesting angle of how does E&O impact us now that we're trusting an AI to do this sort of critical process. Well, we got to kind of go to the drawing board and think, what does that mean for us? So you can see a little bit longer of an adoption cycle, but generally speaking, once they kind of wrap their heads around it, they're comfortable using it. And we like to just offer this really low stakes trial period for them to get a sense of what the tool would look like. And that tends to be pretty effective. But we're pretty small, pretty lean team right now, and just really looking forward to 2025.
Okay. Um, what kind of feedback are you getting from the agencies?
Yeah, the biggest thing is it saves time. It's straightforward, it's simple, easy to use. And what we're really interested in now is, as I mentioned, we're creating these tools to make the existing frontline employees more efficient. But the big picture of now that they're just doing these jobs more efficiently, that data that they were currently just kind of glossing over and keeping inside of these documents is now unlocked. So there's a lot of excitement around we've got this data built up, we've made it available through an API. What are the kind of next layer of applications that can be built? You think about all of this requirements data, all of this quoting data and policy data. There's a lot of interesting insights in there. So that's something we're working on with some larger agencies. But the feedback has been really good so far, and I think there's just a ton of opportunity beyond what we're currently doing, but very focused on the current kind of use cases of contract reviews and policy checking.
Okay. Does it plug into Epic and Vertafore? Does it need to? Like, what is the
Yeah,
integration like?
that's a good question. So that's kind of what we've been talking with a lot of agencies about. Sort of the default question is like, how does this integrate, right? Um, our kind of takeaway is that it doesn't really need to at this point
I was
because
wondering on that. Yeah,
you have this sort of repository. You can pull the data out if you want, but we haven't really spent the time to dig into the weeds of how to integrate because the real meat of this and the real challenge and complexity is around that core AI workflow. So we've spent all of our time and attention on mastering that piece. And then integration is just sort of the cherry on top. But our early users are using this tool as a standalone option now and finding that to be just as efficient. So currently we don't have any integrations, but we're building an API that allows us to pull out and kind of push the data where it needs to go. And if enough agencies start to want it and it starts to become a roadblock to not be able to integrate, then we'll tackle that. But so far, it really hasn't been an issue.
yeah. It might not be necessary given that the piece you're doing is with the specific documents coming in. Um, so that yeah, it's an interesting question. I've never worked in an agency, so I'm a carrier side guy. Talk with a lot of agencies on what they do, and a lot of insurtechs working with the agency space, but I've never worked in an agency myself. Um, all right. So the pricing. Uh, there's a trial period. Um, After that, is it a per head subscription? Is it a per policy? Like what is that? What is the pricing? How is it structured? And what kind of commitment is it once we're past the trial period?
Yeah, there is a very straightforward model. It's pay for what you use. So we kind of call it build on units of work, right? So once you've kind of completed a full request, so you upload a really lengthy contract, we then extract all the insurance requirements from that contract. We compare that to everything in the policies, generate a report and a breakdown, flag any gaps in compliance, and create a path to resolve that. Once that whole process has been done, that is one unit of work. And we charge, depending on the volume, anywhere from $8 to $10 for that unit of work to be completed. And it is purely what you're using is what you pay for. There's no commitments. You're not locked into any long-term contracts. So you can try it, get a feel for it. And then from there, if it doesn't work, no harm, no foul. But the whole point is you have to build the trust first. So let's make it a very low barrier to entry for these agencies to try it, to kind of see how it's going to fit into their operations, and just only paying when you're getting value is kind of the approach we've taken.
All right. Um, the third piece. So we have the improve retention, save time, uh, unlock the data. Long term, what do you think we'll be able to do with our agency's data once kind of the future state of what you're building?
Yeah, that the beauty of that is it's up to the agency. We just give them the tools, and through these kind of partnerships and user groups that we have, we're starting to collaborate on what those future use cases are. One thing that came up was just you've got this giant repository of quote data. So can we use that to create sort of a market appetite database to just make more intelligent quoting decisions? But the real crux of what we do is on making it very easy to capture that data, push and pull it to different places, and use it however you want, and then make those APIs super available. But I think in several years, we'll have is sort of this network of different agencies that we can kind of partner with to develop these custom applications and make those available. But right now, the focus is on the core, getting the data out, streamlining the current tasks. And we're just doing a lot of discovery around what those next use cases look like. But sky's the limit, right? Once you have these abilities to develop applications with really no coding required, you can open Claude, you can have these kind of co-pilot tools to help you develop applications and talk to this data in your natural language. Like anybody can sort of think, reverse engineer, here's an outcome I want. And then now that I have this data, how can I achieve that? And it's pretty crazy what you can do without sophisticated engineering teams. So the beauty of that is we give you the raw ingredients, and then with the current ecosystem and tools out there, you can kind of take it and run with it however you want.
Fantastic, fantastic. What type of agencies do you think are the best fit? Like, is this a fit for any commercial agency, or are there specific types of agencies that you think will really benefit from this?
Well, for kind of the initial product that we launched was that contract review piece. The whole purpose of that is to streamline the process of issuing a cert on a more complicated request. So if you think about where those requests are more frequent, it's typically if the book of business is more heavily weighted towards industries like construction or contractors, where there is a bunch of these more complex MSA agreements that they have to make sure they're in compliance with. So that's one. If you have a majority of your agency revenue coming from commercial, and then you've got a substantial book of business in construction, contractor, transportation, just cert heavy industries. That's a great place. And then beyond that, the policy checking piece can really be applied to anybody, but you kind of have to have a volume that's sufficient enough for it to be a pain point. And you have to have a growth oriented mindset of we want to scale the agency, but not the headcount. So how can we find technology to do that? So there's a few kind of components that make an agency ready for it, but those are just some of the main things right there.
Okay. All right. Very, 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 very interesting. Okay. Um, wh where are you and the team heading this year when it comes to conferences? If somebody wants to meet you in person, where might they likely run into you guys?
Well, we are probably going to be at the typical ones that you'll see. I'm sure like the ITC Vegas, that seems to be the really big one. We'll be there. Applied Net will be there. But we'll also be doing just a lot of content on LinkedIn and webinars as well. So digitally is kind of a lower, as we're bootstrapped company, it's kind of expensive to go to all these conferences. So can we get a more efficient use of our time and dollar by creating these experiences digitally? And so that's something that we're really looking forward to, as well as our newsletter that's out there, and folks can connect with us that way as well.
Perfect, perfect. When this goes live, I will tag both you and the company on LinkedIn. lightdoc.ai if you want to check out the website. And again, I'll include the link to your LinkedIn on the show notes. Very cool, very cool. Looking forward to have you back in a couple of years once kind of it's fully matured to hear where things went and what the tool became.
Absolutely. It's exciting times, and we're ready for the year ahead, and looking forward to the long journey that it's going to be. It's very exciting. I appreciate you for just putting all these dots together and giving people like me a chance to share their product,
Awesome.
and it's very, very much appreciated.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you, Tony.